Hello everybody, my name's Lucy from Rhythm Time and I'm bringing you the Early Years Development Show. In this episode, I speak with Hannah, CEO and founder of Music Squad, the piano tuition company based in the north of England. Hannah was actually one of Rhythm Time's first customers back in 1997, and music has always played such a huge part in Hannah's life. We discussed Hannah's journey and how she came to start Music Squad back in lockdown. We also discussed the importance of music education for children and ways in which Hannah makes her classes engaging and fun. Finally, we go on to discuss the future of music education and what Hannah thinks that will look like. It's a really great episode, so please do subscribe on whatever platform you're listening, and I hope you enjoy.
Ha ha ha, hee hee hee, you are here and so are we. Ha ha ha, hee hee hee, you are here and so are we.
Hello everybody, today I have Hannah from Music Squad here. Hello Hannah.
Hi Lucy.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And thank you so much for coming on our podcast, the second guest.
I know, Kathy was quite a big act to follow, to be fair.
I'm sure you're going to be absolutely fine.
Great, well, thank you very much for having me anyway. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're really happy to have you on board here. So first of all, could you tell the listeners at home a little bit about yourself, a little bit about Music Squad, and we'll go from there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the first place to start is that I was actually one of the first children to attend the Rhythm Time class with Kathy back in Solihull when she first started in 1997 or whatever it was. So that's kind of where it's come full circle. So that's where my musical journey began, which obviously was an amazing place for it to start. And then so following my time with Rhythm Time as a very young preschooler, I then started learning the piano when I was 5 and never stopped basically. So carried on learning, did GCSE music, A-level music, went to uni and did music. And then after uni, was a full-time piano teacher for a year. And when I got there doing that, Rhythm Time and all my musical experiences that I'd had up to that point had been super joyful, super exciting, super inspiring. And I got to teaching it in primary schools, and I wasn't finding that was the case anywhere. I was just like, a lot of the joy and a lot of the excitement was missing from it. And I knew that I wanted to kind of change that, but I didn't know how at that point because I just graduated from uni. I knew a lot about music, but I didn't know anything about anything else. So I worked in a corporation for 6 years, moving around various functions like procurement, sales, and marketing. And then when COVID hit, and everyone had a chance to like sit down and reevaluate what they wanted to do and where they were going and what their life meant to them, I decided that it was time to finally go back to that experience that I'd had in primary schools and go back to sharing my own joy and the way that music's changed my life with other children. So 2 years ago I set up Music Squad with the sole intention to make peripatetic instrumental tuition or learning the piano in primary schools to be as joyful and as exciting and as inspiring as my experiences have been. Whilst there's nothing revolutionary about learning an instrument in a primary school, Music Squad is revolutionary in its approach, its obsession with trying to be fun and it's silly and joyful and like get all those amazing benefits that you guys talk about all the time from music as much as they can.
That's amazing. And I think it just goes to show that you've kind of experienced it all. So obviously it sounds like you've got music in your blood. But it's just that factor that you're saying that you need that fun element and that exciting element. So what is it Music Squad actually does?
Yeah, so it's essentially a peripatetic music tuition company. So it operates exclusively in primary schools, so only children aged 5 to 11. And it's quite niche what Music Squad does. It's only piano and keyboard, but we do piano lessons, daytime individual piano lessons during the school day, and then an after-school small group keyboard club. So it's just 2 formats. It's just one instrument. It's just primary schools. So since launching that 2 years ago, it's grown massively. So there's clearly a demand for this kind of like fresh thinking in music tuition. So we've been going 2 years. We just started our third school year. And yeah, it's in primary schools all throughout the northwest, so 20 different primary schools in Cheshire and Trafford and South Manchester. Yeah, I've got a team of 13 teachers that work for me. Just launched my first pilot franchise in Liverpool, so that's like St Helens and Knowsley. Yeah, so it's just gone from strength to strength over the last 2 years.
Amazing. That sounds really good. And what is different? So when I was younger, I did piano lessons and I'd turn up and we'd sit down and we'd literally go through the notes and kind of that was it for half an hour or so. What is it that you do differently?
So I don't think it's about shunning any of that stuff. And we still teach in essentially a classical style. Like they're still really high quality lessons. They're still learning to read music properly, probably learning all the same stuff that you were learning, but it's just 100% all in the approach. It needs to be delivered in a really fun, silly, exciting, joyful way where the emphasis is on the enjoyment, not the progress. Because if in a piano lesson you're balancing enjoyment and progress, if you stop the enjoyment, the progress is inevitably going to stop anyway because they'll stop learning. So it always has to be about the enjoyment. So I think the main thing is just the approach and the delivery. We do things slightly differently in that we have our own books, like our own material and our own program that we teach with, which has kind of been created by me with that approach in mind. So it underpins the entire concept, the program. But I don't think it's about saying like, oh, it's been rubbish for ages. I think it's just about bringing all of the good practice that's been going on into 2023 and like embracing technology, embracing digital stuff, bringing all the material up to date and just delivering it in a really like, exciting, I'm just going to keep saying these words over and over again, exciting and joyful way.
Absolutely. And I think, as you say, it's really important, especially in that age group as well, because that's when they perhaps haven't got their attention span isn't great. So they need to have that kind of stimulation, really.
Yeah, 100%. And sorry, and I'm also going to say, they're not preschoolers in that age group either. They don't want to be doing nursery rhymes and having pictures of teddy bears. Like an 8-year-old boy doesn't want to be going to a piano lesson and learning girls and boys come out to play because he's going home and playing like Fortnite and watching Star Wars and stuff. He doesn't want that. It's not cool. He doesn't want to be doing like oranges and lemons in that age. They're not preschoolers anymore. They're not babies. They're like tiny, small little adults, and they've got interest in it. It needs to be cool and it needs to be something that they're interested in.
And at that age, they're fiercely kind of independent as well, aren't they? So they want to see like it's their decision to come and learn the piano, and they want to be involved with it. So, sorry, carry on again.
Sorry, I keep interrupting you. I was going to say, to that point that you just made, them being fiercely independent, I will always bang on about it has to be child led as well. It has to be led by them, and they have to feel like they're making the decisions in the lesson. So if they do like Star Wars, you need to follow that interest, and if they can play music from Star Wars on the piano, it doesn't need to be. We don't need to direct them. It can be really, really child led, and I think that's the best way to help them to get the most benefits from it as well.
Do you were saying about kind of if they like Star Wars or whatever, do you often find that the classes are very much tailored towards the child and their enjoyment and what they like?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our Squad Star program, which is books and an app. And I ask all the teachers to follow that because it's got all the basics that they need to know. It's a proper, robust, high quality learning, how to learn to read music and how to learn to play the piano. So that needs to be followed, but every child's different. So yeah, that needs to be the sole foundation. But all teachers and all children need to be drawing down on other stuff as well. So if a child likes Star Wars and likes film music, do that as well as a Squad Star book. If they really like improvising, do a bit of that. If they want to do more like classical stuff or more, I don't know, rocky stuff or pop stuff, you have to follow and add onto it however the child wants to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned there about kind of other sides of things. So have you found, obviously you go to music classes to learn music, so you go to play piano. Is there anything else that children pick up, any other skills, any other kind of developmental milestones that you find that these children are meeting?
Yeah, 100%. I think learning the piano is the bottom of the pile of things that they pick up from a piano lesson, which sounds really counterintuitive. But I think learning to play an instrument is like the last benefit that you get from learning to play an instrument.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting you say that.
Yeah, it sounds nuts. Obviously, it's great to be able to play the piano, but like knowing where middle C is isn't going to carry you through life. It's all the other benefits that you get from it that will carry you through life. So yeah, I think Kathy, I was watching her podcast last night for inspiration. She said she categorized like children's early development into physical, emotional, and social like benefits that they get from music, and it is just music touches on all three of those. It helps them to develop physically, it helps them to develop emotionally, and it helps them to develop socially in so many different ways and so many like wide reaching and long lasting ways from being 8 years old to being 80 years old. Yes, I think so. Learning the piano is the least important part of it, I think.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. And I guess you can see all of these different skills come through, like their confidence. And obviously, if they're becoming more confident, then obviously their piano will become more confident. I bet it has kind of a knock on effect.
100%, yeah, it's a proper ripple effect. As soon as you start to feel, oh, I can do something, you start to feel more resilient, more confident, more your self-esteem flourishes. Then you feel like you can try other things, and then this grows, and this grows. So it's such a ripple effect.
So how do you think this joy of music and this kind of exciting way that you're delivering your classes helps the child's development, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing. If you know these benefits are available if they have good music lessons, but these benefits aren't going to be maximised if these music lessons are average. If these lessons are amazing and really really joyful, then these benefits are going to be truly maximised, and that's like all three of the things that Kathy said, like the physical benefits, the emotional benefits, the social benefits. So making it joyful, just all that does, it's like there's no major science. It just maximises what they can get out of it. It just maximises all those things. So like physically, playing the piano particularly, it's the hardest instrument to learn because you're using 10 fingers, two hands, and you're reading two different lines of music. So it's really difficult. Like there's a lot of processing going on there. So it's like motor skills and all that development. The emotional side is I kind of touched on it, but like the self-esteem, the confidence, like the overall well-being, a million other things. And then the social benefits is connecting with other people and sharing with other people. And if you're playing music with other people, that's learning to listen and wait for each other and share and teamwork and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And then that just brings me on to, I was just thinking, so you say your classes kind of start from 5 upwards. Do you notice the children that have potentially been exposed to music earlier? So, for example, rhythm time children or children that have been to music classes. Can you tell a difference between children that perhaps had that exposure and then children maybe just come to you with nothing?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Because it's difficult to start playing the piano any earlier than 5 because your hands aren't big enough and stuff like that. But you could do so much before you're 5 that's like away from the piano, which is obviously what rhythm time is doing. And yeah, absolutely. If a child can keep a pulse, that is half of the battle. If a child can recognise high and low and like the ascension of notes, that's amazing as well. If they can recognise just outside of piano lessons, if they can recognise like different instrumental sounds and different qualities of music, like loud and soft. In rhythm time, they even learn the proper F equals forte equals loud and P equals piano equals quiet. So like that, we don't do that until halfway through book 1. So that's a concept that they're learning in rhythm time, what age 3 or 4 or something, and then that's part of the squad style book. So yeah, they know it's not just like the innately things that they can do like the pulls, but they'll actually have knowledge that they can apply and that they will be learning anyway.
Yeah, so you can see that difference quite obviously. It's somebody that's kind of been introduced, into music and then perhaps hasn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Rhythm time and other classes like that make a massive difference.
So, what are the new fun ways that you have found that to help children to learn? So, any kind of fun ways to keep, and so your child comes to you, for example, how are you going to get them engaged and interested? What tactics would you use?
Firstly, and I've said this before, it's all in the approach. It's all in your style. You have to make their 20-minute experience very exciting, very inspiring. So it's just how you present it to them, firstly and foremost. And it has to be full of praise, full of like, oh my goodness, you're in a piano lesson, how exciting! Like, is this your first piano lesson? So it's all about excitement. Secondly, it has to be child-led. What do they like playing? Do they like listening to music at home? Like, you have to connect what they're learning to other music that they're experiencing in their life. So what are they doing in their classroom music? What music do they listen to with their family at home? What music do they sing with their friends? What music's on their games they're playing? I don't know, stuff like that. Because the kids, they all love music at that age. They see it on TikToks or like what on YouTube or whatever they're on. So connecting it with what else they're doing, and then yeah, they're probably like the main two ways. Um, Obviously, our books have been written to engage children that way, and we have an app as well, which is helps to engage children because they're very digital focused, aren't they, nowadays? So that helps too. But it's just all about letting them lead the sessions, connecting it to real life. So it's not just this random piano lesson that they're going to sit in. It doesn't mean anything to any other part of their life. And making it this super fun, exciting, positive, affirming adventure for them.
Amazing. It sounds really good. I want to come along to one now. Should sign up. It's fine. So you mentioned the book and the app development. Can we talk a little bit more about that? So what's that about?
Yeah, so the books are classical in style. I don't think we need to be saying like reinvent the wheel on it all. But the classical and traditional style of teaching, there's still loads of merit in that. I think it's a brilliant way forward. It's just presenting it differently. So yeah, that's all the books are. It's just a really unhurried progression for 5 to 11-year-olds, guiding them from their first day, from day one to their first exam. It's just there's no teddy bears, there's no note to teacher. It's all a super colloquial tone, really light-hearted, silly illustrations like the big bum boogie, the stripy pants dance. Like it's all just daft ridiculousness.
I think that's brilliant though, because I've looked at your social media channels before I came on, and you're very fun, you're very bubbly, very kind of like some of the things you put up a bit silly, like you say, and I think it's really engaging. So I can see why that would be kind of interest to a younger child.
Yeah, it has to be those things, right? Otherwise, why would they care? Yeah, and because they children all use the books together, even though a lot of them are having the individual lessons, it still creates that shared experience. And they kind of compare like, oh, what page are you up to? Oh, I'm on this page. And I still teach a day myself, and a couple of the boys that I teach, they're about 8. They've decided that they just love this piece together, and they just go home and like go to each other's houses for play dates and just like play this piece together. And they're always like, Jacob's been playing this and Steph's been playing this. So they're always like comparing where they're up to, and there's a few in the same class that do it, and like the ones that are most further ahead are always like, "Where's Olivia up to? Is she finished yet?" So it's kind of like that, creating that shared experience, even though they're doing it on their own. Because learning an instrument can sometimes be a bit lonely and a bit one-dimensional without that. So yeah, the books kind of tie it all together. And then the app is not actually in existence yet; it's coming. I'm talking about it so much. It's coming. But it's a help at home practice app to complement the books. So it's designed directly to target customers' main pain points, which is number one, the children don't want to practice, and number two, they don't know how to help them practice. Because music is like traditionally a little bit inaccessible, especially for families that don't know about music. Like I don't want it to be like, oh, I don't know, so I can't help them. So the app's meant to help them practice, incentivize them to do so, and then help the families to help them too. So it's just a series of like audio resources and a small podcast per page to guide the families through helping their child to practice at home and like reminding the child of things that the teacher would have said in their lessons. So it's like 60% entertaining, 40% educational, but it's just meant to incentivize that extra engagement in between lessons, which is key to like sustaining interest.
So that's aimed more at the parents, the app is.
Yeah, so it's designed for children to use, but the parents are supposed to. Well, it would be great if the parents could like help them to use it and You can like enable push notifications, so like 2 or 3 times a week it reminds you to practice, and it kind of helps guide the parents along with the journey that the child's on, so that they can continue to help them and support them.
That's quite handy actually, especially if perhaps a parent isn't musical or hasn't been kind of exposed to that. So having that kind of resource must be handy for them. Are there any ways, sorry, I've got a question here which kind of ties in nicely. Are the aside from the app, are there any other ways that a parent could actively support their child in learning music? So say if somebody wanted their child to learn some music, or they were learning at school or through Music Squad or Rhythm Time or anywhere, how could parent kind of actively support that at home?
Yeah, loads of ways, and I hate the fact that it's sometimes feel like music can feel like an exclusive thing to non-musical families. I don't like, it's not very nice, is it? It's not nice ever to feel like, oh God, I don't know about this. So and like there's a lot of jargon in music as well. Like 5 minutes ago I said the word forte in piano. Like if you're not musical, you have no idea what that meant. Why would you? Yeah, why should you? I know all the musical words, but I don't know any words about anything else. um, so first of all, like we're doing our best, or I'm doing my best to remove all of that like jargon. It's still in there for the kids to learn, but when I explain things to families or parents or advertise, it's not about using the jargon, because that puts that barrier there of like, oh, a highly established musical company. No, it's not. It's like really as inclusive as we can be. But parents can help so much just by playing music at home, and different genres of music as well, and like positioning music as this shared experience within the family. So something that you can do together, sing to together, listen to together, and if the child is playing an instrument, then like weekly performances, rather than making it like a do your practice, which is a bit, can sometimes be like a chore. If you reframe it as on like even just once a week, like on a Sunday, like, oh, do you want to like perform to your family? Then it's a really positive, like they get to show off. It reframes performing as a really like positive thing, and then it's that shared experience, and with loads of praise, that the children can just really enjoy sharing what they've done. So there's loads of ways to encourage children, even if you can't practice at home, or even if you don't know how to help them.
That's brilliant, and it's just as you say before, everything that you've been talking about is bringing that fun element in again, isn't it? And making, like you say, not making music lessons a chore. Just let's have some fun. And it's like in my last podcast that I did with Kathy, she was very much an advocate of singing at home, singing to the baby when it was in the womb, having a music box and doing that kind of thing at home with children. So it can be done. So if someone couldn't afford, say, music lessons or a music class or anything like that, they can still have that at home, and the children can still benefit from music developmentally that way as well.
Exactly, just anything at home. I go into primary school to do loads of demos, and I always say like, put your hand up if you regularly play an instrument or have lessons. And about 100% of the class will put their hand up, because they think that like having a drum at home counts as playing and learning an instrument. The children aren't differentiating with like, well, actually, my mum pays for a 20-minute weekly lesson, or actually, my mum doesn't pay. They don't know that. They're engaging with music as engaging with music. So it doesn't, it doesn't need to be a paid lesson. Like any kind of engagement in music at all counts and will help them to get all the same benefits.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That leads me nicely on to our next kind of question about more the future of music education. So do you think now that there is going to be this shift in music education, so there's going to be this more fun element, this more interactive element as we kind of move with obviously technology and then just in general?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're in a digital age, aren't we? Like apps are going nowhere. The internet is going nowhere, and children are growing up on phones. They're growing up on all of this. So it needs to be embraced, and we need to use it to complement and to push forward what we're already doing with music tuition. So I think that it should be more interactive, and it definitely is heading that way. When I'm going into primary schools, and even with the kids that I teach, loads of them are interacting with apps like Simply Piano, um, or Musician. And whilst I think that an in-person instrumental lesson can't be replaced, I think that will never be replaced. These apps go a long way towards doing that, and then they certainly help for families who don't want to or can't afford to, or for whatever reason aren't putting their children into those instrumental lessons. So apps are amazing, and there's ones where you can properly learn to play the piano. I've already said Simply Piano and Musician, but there's also other apps that you can just use to complement playing. So there's one called Note Rush where it's helping you to learn notes off the stave. Like my Hope an Hour app will help with practice. The technology is amazing. It needs to be embraced, and music lessons and its usage in that is no different. But yeah, in terms of a shift in the future, I think the government released their national plan for music education, totally revamped last year, in June 2022, and that put an enormous emphasis on the education system from 3 to 18, on the inclusivity of music for everybody, and getting children to engage with music right from year 3 through to 18, and the importance of that. So I think music in schools particularly, and even like reception and preschool, music is coming to the forefront a lot more.
Absolutely. I've found that when I went to school, music was just an hour a week. That's what we had. But now my daughter, and she's not even at school yet, but preschool, they're always singing, always dancing. And obviously she goes to rhythm time. There's a lot more focus on music and the importance of music.
Yeah, massively, as there should be, because it's completely invaluable to a child's development at any stage, 0 to 5 or 5 to 11 or beyond. It's completely invaluable, and as I said, has such a ripple effect on so many other subjects and so many other facets of their life, and just their overall well-being and cognitive functioning and all of that kind of stuff. So it should be. But yeah, no, it definitely is becoming more supported by schools as the government continues to suggest that schools should be doing that more and more so.
Absolutely. Do you have, as we kind of tie things up now, do you have any kind of words of advice for our listeners, especially those that want to get their children to kind of love music or have a love for music? I know we've talked about obviously playing it at home and really having music around us all times, but do you have any more advice for any parents wanting to get their child kind of more engaged in music?
I think it's just about positioning music as a really special thing, because it is a really, really special thing, and it's a really special gift for any child to be engaging with. So I think it's just about positioning it as this really exciting, special gift. So if a child is doing a music lesson in school, or they're going to rhythm time, or they're having a piano lesson, it's about making sure that they realise that it's a really special opportunity that they're getting there. It's a gift, and it could take them anywhere. So I know it on a weekly basis, it might just seem like a rhythm time class, or it might just seem like a piano lesson, or it might just seem like half an hour at school doing music. But every passionate budding musician all started somewhere. Everyone that's passionate about music all started somewhere. So, and you just never know where it could take any of them. So whilst it might just be a rhythm time class, or it might just be an after school keyboard club, that might help them to connect with a friend who ends up being a really good friend for life, or they might end up playing it for ages, and they might go on an adventure and perform somewhere in the world. That's quite an extreme example. I know a lot of people won't end up traveling the world to perform, but like, even if you just make one friend out of it, or it gives you like a bit of confidence, or it encourages you, or gives you the motivation to start a new subject or a new hobby or something like that, you just never know where it could take you. So I think it's just about making sure that everyone understands that like it could open so many doors, and that it's a really special opportunity to be given.
That's a really nice way of looking at it, because I like how you're kind of saying that obviously you might not be a pianist after completing these classes, but as you say, it could open these doors, and you could make a new friend, or be so much more confident, and could help you get a job interview or anything like that. It just gives you that confidence, doesn't it? So that's a really nice thought.
Yeah, absolutely. All those things. Like, I think the most important thing to me is all those confidence boosting elements of it. Like, obviously, I've got no control variable for my life, but I also come from like a stable and loving family, which is a great privilege to have had. But I do genuinely feel like a lot of my own like self-worth and self-esteem and confidence and resilience and positivity and all those things come from music, and like the personal identity that that's helped me to form, and the sense of belonging that that's given me. I do feel like music has given me so much of that. as I said, I'm sure that my family have contributed to that as well.
So was it a really musical upbringing you had? Was there always music playing in the house? Mum was always singing.
And mainly me, mainly me making noise. Um, but yeah, I think like on my own life, this is why I'm so passionate about sharing it with the children, because it just can make such a difference to like so I could literally list like 100 words to you, like resilience, self-esteem, confidence, all these things that are so vital to do well at anything or to feel good about yourself. And music, like engaging with music and concentrating on music or focusing or achieving anything, it can just give you all these things.
The power of music. So, are there any kind of, from your experience, any emotional benefits that children you've seen in children that might surprise our listeners?
But yeah, the emotional benefits for me are the main, the best benefits that you get from music. Whether you're 0 years old, 3, 5, 15, 10, whatever. Um, so I think like the first one is joy, which like joy is enough in itself, isn't it? Joy is what we all strive to have in all of our days. So it can give children joy, which then leads to like self-esteem, confidence, resilience, like an overall more positive, optimistic outlook on life and yourself and the way that you fit into everything. But then the one that I think would surprise people the most, and I hope this doesn't sound too like grandiose, but it's that sense of like fitting into the world and that sense of belonging. So even if you're 3 years old, or 8 or whatever, you're not born with personal identity. You pick it up as you move through life, based on evidence, based on things that you see. Like you're picking up, oh, I'm a musician and my friend's a musician. I'm kind of like a musical person, or you develop this level of like sense of identity. So whilst there's all the other ones that I mentioned, like probably the most surprising one, and it probably sounds a bit over the top, but it's really not, is children's like sense of who they are, their sense of belonging, and like the way that they relate to their surroundings and relate to their friends. Because music can be a great connector, with friends and family, and I think having a really strong sense of personal identity and who you are is what everyone needs to feel stable and secure. So I think an emotional benefit for music that would surprise people perhaps is that it can really help children to develop that. It can help to develop that sense of identity for them.
And you can see that, can't you? Because, for example, when I'm in a rhythm time class with my little girl, there's a group of children, and they're all together, and they're all part of this song or making this piece of music and playing their drums or whatever. So it is a sense of kind of belonging and sense of sense of self worth, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. And if you go to a primary school, or if your daughter like engages with other children, can she talk yet? How old is she?
Sort of. She's 3, so yeah, she talks. She talks a lot. Sometimes I don't always understand her, but yeah.
Well, when she starts making friends and they talk about things, I bet she is really, really proud to tell people that she does music or she goes to a music class, because that's like it makes children feel really proud to like this is who I am and I do music and this is me. So it like it's who they are, and it becomes like yeah, this is me. I do music.
Brilliant, absolutely. That's a great answer. Thank you so much, Hannah, for coming to on our podcast today. It's been great. Honestly, I've really enjoyed listening to your story, and also kind of finding out a little bit more about the benefits of like music classes for little ones and the developmental benefits and things like that. Do you want to just kind of plug your Instagram handle, your YouTube channel, or what?
Yeah, yeah. So we're not on YouTube yet. We're not that cool. We're on Instagram. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. It's at Music Squad HQ, I think.
We'll put it all in the comments below, in the box below, and I'll put it on screen.
Perfect. But if you visit musicsquad.co.uk, then you'll find links to everything, and you can read more about Music Squad.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed speaking.
Oh, thanks so much, Lucy. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the Early Years Development Show. I've had a great conversation with Hannah, and I really hope that you enjoyed listening too. Please remember to like, comment, share the podcast if you enjoyed listening. And I hope to see you again really, really soon. Bye.